think we know the history of the ancient world. We have seen about empires rising and falling, conquering and being conquered. In the ancient world, the relationship between India and Rome was very simple. India was the crown jewel of the East, and they were transporting spices, silks and expensive ornaments to Rome, and Rome in return was paying them in gold. Indians lived in India, Romans lived in Rome, and they were just coming and going for trading. But what if this history is cracked? Deep beneath the soil in southern India, we have uncovered facts which shows us that Romans not only came here to trade, but they actually lived here and set up a community here. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Everything with Dr. James. Today we are going to be dealing with the secret lives of Romans in ancient India. Why Romans will travel halfway around the globe to trade, we need to understand the Roman obsession. Let's go back to 1st century AD. Romans were in the center of the world, their cities built with marbles. But the Romans lacked one thing, they lacked flavor. They were obsessed with India's black pepper, so much so they called it black gold. Imagine going to a party and you see a Roman who's draped with ornaments from the Indian Ocean, and they are draped in dress made of silk. That was a symbol of status to them, but many Romans did not like it. Some of them told that you are draining so much money from the Roman coffers to buy these expensive jewelry 100 times its original value, such that you can use this money to build armies or even build a city. But still the Roman obsession was not left behind. Initially they were using the trade route of the Silk Road to go and trade with India, but this road was very dangerous. Everything changed in 30 BC when they captured Egypt. Now the Red Sea opened. With the Red Sea, they were able to use their boats to travel to India easily, and they had mastered the wind idea. So they understood that in summers, the wind blows in such a direction that the ships will sail faster to India. After this discovery, they traveled around 120 ships per year. But this is where the confusion comes. When 120 ships are traveling per year, they had to come here, dock here, wait for some time to sell their goods and go. So they needed a place to stay. Some of their traders or artisans would have got very much impressed with Indian culture. They will want to stay here and set up a workshop here. So this is where the theory of Romans lived in India in a separate community came in. Investigation starts in the southwestern part of India in the state of Kerala. This was a place where there was the world's most important port, and it was present in the lost city of Muziris. Evidence can be taken from the Tamil literature of Sangam, who says that along the Periyar river a lot of ships used to come with gold and they used to go back with pepper. There is also a Roman map which is called as the Putsinga table, which shows a temple for Augustus on Indian soil. Imagine a temple for a Roman king on Indian soil. Though this could be just hypothetical, just to help the Romans to say that you have to trade in this place and this building couldn't have been there. This just shows us the extent of trade relations which Romans had with India. And in 1341, evidence says that there was a great flood which wiped this city of Muziris out of existence, and they lay buried in rubble for 600 years. For years, in a village called Pattanam in Kerala, children used to get beads and ornaments which resembled the beads and ornaments which were present in Rome. So archaeologists in early 2000 started digging in these places, and what they found was astonishing. The first thing they found out was they found pottery and clay which was similar to the ones which were present in Rome. This shows that there was an extensive trade relation between Rome and India. Also, they found buildings which were similar to Roman architecture. Layer by layer, the ghost of Muziris was unearthed. Striking similarities to the Roman Empire was found. Perhaps the smoking gun which was present was. In 2020, they found out an oval-shaped seal present. This seal had a sphinx. The sphinx was a Greek mythological creature. But this finding had similarities to the seal of King Augustus, meaning that did the royal envoy come to Kerala? If it was only a trade route, only traders should come. But it was something more than that. This is why the seal of the emperor is present there. The second smoking gun they got was in the burial sites they found certain skeletons which had characteristics of the European population. This was not the characteristics of the Indian population skeleton, showing that these people were not just traders, they practically lived here, died here, and they were buried here. Now coming to the second evidence, for this let's travel 600 kilometers from the city of Muziris to Pondicherry. In Pondicherry there was a well documented port which was used for Indo-Roman trade fair, which was called as Poduke, which is the present day Arikemedu. In this Poduke area in 1940s, under a person called Wheeler, they undertook excavation to find out the extent of Roman trade fair, and they found out a lot of pottery, clay material, showing that the Romans had come here and traded. But the smoking gun was, they found a lot of unfinished materials which were present here, showing that they were made here. Meaning that these materials which were found in Rome and they are present here also were not only imported, but they were being made here. A portion of Romans were living here, making it, and they were trading it, showing that there is a separate area for Romans to stay here, live here, trade here, and go on with their lives. Now coming to the evidence. The first evidence we got were stacks of gold and silver coin of the Roman era were found in 120 digging sites all over India. These coins had the emperors Augustus and Nero stamp over them. Most probable theory is they were using these coins, melting them and using it as raw materials. But there were some other coins which were found which had symbols of Indian emperors which were printed over them, showing that these coins were revalidated and they were put into circulation and they were used for the economy of the local Indian country, which shows the extent of Roman trade in India. Now comes the Roman evidence. In the book Persepolis of the Erythraean Sea, which was a 1st century Roman guide for sailors, there are focal points which show trade routes to this area in Kerala as well as in Pondicherry, which shows us that there were trade routes which were existing. But this book does not give us any evidence for the presence of settlements of Romans in India. Another evidence is from the Sangam literature, which tells that Yanavas came in ships. They traded with gold and they went back with pepper. Yanavas was the term used by Indians for Greek and Romans during the ancient times. Another evidence which I will say, in fact, which is the most glaring, is from Silapatikaram, in which they say that these Yanavas had swords and shields and they were protecting the Pandyan kingdom. Meaning that these Romans not only engaged in trade, but they gave protection in return for this pepper, ornaments, silk. All these evidence mounts to a fact that Romans not only engaged in trade with Indians, but also they were an active part of the society. In fact, they even lived. Now with all this evidence, we can come to a conclusion that Romans didn't just come to India to trade, but they actively lived as a part of the society. The previous notion was that empires were isolated and they lived only among themselves, but with this evidence we can show that these empires were actually communicating with each other, trading with each other. In fact, they were living in the places where they were trading. Do like, share and subscribe me for more interesting videos.